where are areas where you wish NASCAR would do things similar to maybe like what Supercross does, and vice versa? Like, are there areas that you see what we do right, or maybe what we could do better versus what you guys do right, and what you could do better?
Yeah, well, I think that the biggest thing that Supercross does is the show, right? Like every race is an event, right? It doesn't matter if Sexton wins by 20 seconds. It doesn't matter if he falls down on the first lap. The event and the hype around the event is something that, I think everybody always looks at and says, man, I wish we could do that at our driver intros, and I wish we could, have that activation that goes with that. But it's a different landscape for sure. It's obviously we race 38 weekends out of the year. You guys race a lot too. Now that
31 with the playoffs,
yeah. So I think it's definitely a little bit different, but I think that the things that I really have enjoyed about the playoffs, sitting on the other side of the fence from the broadcast side, is just the intensity that goes with it. I think being on the competition side, you're able to kind of block a bunch of things out and just stay focused on your team. And our main focus when I was driving was, how do we function as a championship team every week? That's not a switch that you turn on, in my opinion, for the playoffs. So you have to understand how to keep that in the regular season. The more that would happen, the more things that would go down, the more pressure that I had on me, the better off I was anyway. So we always tried to keep that intensity level as high as possible. But the intensity from the broadcast side, watching these guys perform under that pressure is something that I didn't really realize the magnitude of it.
It's undeniable. It's undeniable.
It is undeniable, and I think people watch it. But I think when I look at our playoff system and the way that it functions currently, it's really focused on winning. I wish we had a little bit more balance with the regular season and those 26 weeks of what that regular season championship means. I wish it meant a little bit more. And we have a 16, 12, 8, 4 bracket. So, and then winner takes all at the end. And I think that, there's been some conversation about, should we have 3 races at the end, or 2 races, or what that should be in that last round to determine the championship. The one thing I will say, I really thought that championship format would bring more to the viewership and everything that happens at the end of the year, but that really hasn't changed. Like the hype and everything that goes with that last race is never going to contend with the Daytona 500 and the viewership that goes with that first race. So if that really hasn't changed the mix of viewership and things, I think your book is open to say, okay, maybe we can mix this up, and it's not really going to change it. I wish we would rotate the last race. I think Homestead, Las Vegas,
that'd be cool.
Phoenix. Yep. I wish there was some sort of 3-year rotation that you got to mix that up, so it wasn't, hey, we ran this track last year, we've got really good notes, we're going to be good if we can get there again. And it kind of mixes that up so that you can't just prepare for one track. I wish the regular season first, second, and third place guys, I wish the champ of the regular season he was automatically had a bye until the final 8, but he still had to collect points and do that. Originally, I thought maybe he should be put into the championship 4, but I don't think that's right. I think he needs to be able to race his way in and still have to gain points and things. And I think that the second place guys should be in a round of 12, and first place should be automatically in 16, because at some point we're going to have more winners than we do spots. We came close to that, a couple times over the last few years. So I think it's always open for discussion. I think for me, as I've gone through all this, and I like to start the conversation and throw stuff out there, because the debate is a great part of what we do, and hearing other people's ideas. And, I think I got a lot better at this at the end of my career. From a racing standpoint, I'm a part of the equation in helping solve the problem, right? Like, so I'm kind of like that nucleus of the whole scenario, to be able to guide the direction of what's right and what's wrong. But I always want to hear everybody's ideas, and you have to be willing to try it. Same type of scenario here with all the points.
Yeah, so Super Motocross World Championship is like, trying to form a league, and I think it's been great. So remember back in the past, like it would always be we had two competing promoters, right? With
Yeah.
Feld Motorsports and then Pro Motocross and MX Sports. That's the group that runs the Pro Motocross Championship. So they came together as one and formed Super Motocross World Championship. So long story short, kind of like what you're saying is, they're like the Monster Energy Supercross is still so special, but we're trying to build the SMX World Championship up with the 3-race playoff to it be the pinnacle, right? And then like the Supercross Championship and the Pro Motocross Championship would almost be like it'd be like a conference title, if you
Mm.
will. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's like, but those championships are so hard to win, just like what you're talking about with the regular season NASCAR, like races. That's a lot, dude. And that there should be rewarded heavily for the playoffs. I agree with you. You just kind of made me think of something. But going back to the playoffs, I think it's helped the viewership on our end of things. And one thing that's cool about Super Motocross, and I feel that would be great for NASCAR is, dude, we're bringing a lot of athletes in from the globe. I mean, you have the Lawrence brothers, Jet and Hunter. They're from Australia, right? And then you have Jorge Prado. He's brand new, coming over, young new European champion. He's coming over. He's riding here for Factory Kawasaki. You got Ken Roxon's been over here from Germany for a while. Tom Vial, he's a French guy. I mean, dude, we really truly do have a global world championship. And I do feel like, dude, just if you're a beginner NASCAR viewer, the SVG story is incredible, dude. It's
Hmm.
absolutely incredible. I feel like that should be the next push, because I think you guys, you can always tweak your guys' playoff system, just like we could probably too in Super Motocross. But I feel like to get more eyeballs than what you have is if you could, if you could bring more global drivers around, I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, and
I
I think when you look at SVG, obviously I have a little bit of insight on that one as we
Yep.
represent him with our management company,
Hmm.
and when and you can vouch for this too. When he got in the Xfinity car, it was much harder for him to say, "I'm comfortable. I feel good about what I'm doing," because of the way that the old cars would move around with the skew and the way that they felt with the truck arms. Now with the new Cup car, it feels more like his car that he drove in Australia, because the car drives straight. It doesn't have the back end skewed out, and it doesn't move around, and it doesn't do all those things. And I feel like that took away some of that. Hey, if you're going to be a NASCAR guy, you better just go over there and live it, because you're never going to be able to compete with those guys, because they've done it since they were, you know,
Yeah.
12 years old and all the way through, and know what the car does, and know what that feels like. It was like nothing else that you would drive in the world. Now with the new car, it's more designed as a sports car type design. So it drives straight. The suspension is very similar to that path that they're down in that type of car. So for a guy like me that had done it my whole life, it was like learning how to drive that car was like starting over. For a guy like SVG, he came in and immediately, even on the road courses, it would take those guys time, but immediately, he won his first race. So
Yeah.
to be able to do that to be able to bring those international guys in, and we've seen Kimi Räikkönen, we've seen Juan Montoya, we've seen a lot of those guys come over here and drive the car now. Räikkönen was very competitive. SVG came over and won, so that door is open. And I think for us, going to Mexico City, getting outside of our comfort zone again, I think is a great addition to what we do. You guys with all those riders and the ability to to have those international riders. When you look at Formula One racing is terrible. It is horrible to watch. It
It
is. I
it
mean,
is
it's like,
boring. Other than watching the strategy play
yeah,
out.
it is. There is very little racing that actually goes on. Their last race, I saw more passing at the last race than anything that I probably watched all year.
Uh-huh.
But the broadcast and the way that they present the sport makes it. I mean, it makes dull paint fun to look at. And they have that international flair, and they go to all these different countries, and their show is just spectacular. And I think that mystique is something that makes a lot of people watch. And I think for you guys, that international flair with your riders and possibly doing that once a year, especially if you have guys that are popular in one country, going in and attacking those markets. And New Zealand and Australia for us have been great markets to expand on because of SVG. It's low hanging fruit, and to be able to do that, is something that you have to chase, in my opinion. Going to Mexico City and having Suarez. I was there when Adrian Fernandez was a part of Mexico City races back in 2005. I'm just going to tell you that the fanfare for Adrian Fernandez in Mexico was so big it was scary. Those Mexican fans whistling and screaming and hollering and everything, that every time that car would come around the track. But that's what that's what you need. And there's nothing. It's just like wealth, right? Like, most people are not as wealthy as an international businessman in one country. It's just that international fame and stardom is different. And one other example that was pretty eye-opening for me, I was at Keelan's kart racing. He spent a year and a half in Europe racing karts, and we were in Italy, and Charles Leclerc's nephew was on our team. The popularity, that guy had to walk around with 3 security guards and people everywhere in Italy, because he just couldn't go around, because just the way that they follow things is different than the way it's followed in America.
Hi folks, Lee Diffie from NBC Sports here. If you truly enjoyed what you just watched, you can get more news, interviews, and highlights by subscribing to the Motorsports on NBC YouTube page. You can get it all, so go for it.